everybody.
Hi, guys.
Mr. and Mrs. Traveler here.
No cost Graham at home.
Hiding inside today as Hurricane Matthew breezes on past us here. And we're sending out thoughts and prayers to all of our folks, families, and friends that are in the Panhandle and the Carolinas and all that stuff where the storm is headed.
Yes, we have a little bit of weather here, but it's not compared to where it's going, so we're going to keep them in our prayers. So you make sure you say a special prayer for them tonight.
Yes, indeed. So anyway, guys, today Mrs. Traveler was thumbing through the comments, and she came up with a good idea based on several comments that were a common theme, which basically revolve around what happens if you miss the ship, and different variations of missing the ship.
Yes, what happens if you totally cannot make it on a cruise? I was researching this topic and I did not see any information out there, so hopefully we can help you today.
Alrighty, so let's get on into it. So
let's get started.
What you got?
So the first topic I would like to talk about is something that we all don't want to talk about, and it's going to be a loss. When you lose a loved one or you lose a friend, if you lose somebody that's close to you, what happens when you have a cruise ship booked with that person and then you lose them?
Well, it depends. Yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios there. So obviously, if it's like right before the cruise or something, obviously neither one of you probably are not going on the cruise. You know, what happens at that point, it depends on whether or not you had travel insurance or how far away you are from the cruise, depending on whether there's any penalties from the cruise line or not. Typically, even the cruise lines that have refundable fares, after the final pay date, start implementing fees with cancellation.
Yes.
You know, but let's say it happened, 6 months before your cruise, and now your cruise is here and it was paid in full, and maybe you just want to still go. There are a couple things that you can do, but probably the most expedient thing and forthright thing to do would just be call the cruise line and let them know what happened. They will, I'm sure they probably will not charge you any fees or anything for what happened. Technically they could. I don't think that they necessarily would charge any, especially when you tell them what happened. So that person could, they would get you would start to pay the double fare on most cruise lines for the cruise fare, but they would get refunded the things like the port fees and the taxes from the other person. So
this is the type of subject you don't want to talk about, but it's in the back of your head. What if something happened? So we're going to cover those things today. They're not really happy things to think about, but we want to let you know what we know, and hopefully it'll help you and your family.
So that's a good advocacy point for having insurance.
Yes, it is.
And then you really don't have to worry about a lot of things. It kind of takes the worry out of it.
Next one is if there's a trauma, like let's say there's a car accident or something happened physically, if you can't make it, if you have surgery or something like that, what's the next step? These are the questions that we get as travel agents, and we want to go ahead and address those as well. We always do fun videos and fun topics and laugh and joke around, but some things we have to address that's just really not funny, and this is one of them.
Again, it kind of depends on how close you are to the cruise, but I'm assuming you're saying if it's like right before the cruise, I'll use that scenario, which we've actually had that happen.
Yes, we have.
To clients. And unfortunately, they did not have travel protection, and they lost a great deal of money. I mean, to me, it wasn't a fortune or anything like that, but they lost a nice chunk of change because they weren't able to attend and they didn't have the insurance. And we try to fight on your behalf the best we can sometimes, and sometimes they'll show a little leniency. Sometimes they won't. It just depends on who you got. And, you know, every situation is a little bit different, but
and every cruise line is different.
Yeah, if you didn't have that travel protection, yeah, you're kind of floating in the wind there. So I didn't really necessarily mean this to be a travel insurance video, but it begs the question: do I need travel insurance when these kind of things happen? And it really does take a lot of the stress and worry about things like that actually happening. But yeah, because we had clients that lost a good chunk of change. 75% of the money that they spent was taken by the cruise line. So
yeah, we've had every situation happen, but hopefully we can share some of our scenarios with you. We don't mention names, but we like to mention experiences just to help you out so you can prepare more for your cruise. And if you're ready to book a cruise, make sure you contact us. We are travel agents. We've been on almost 40 cruises, and you can contact us at www.mr-traveler.com, or you can give us a call at 1-877-697
4470.
4470. That way we can go ahead and book your next cruise with you. And you can be confident that you have somebody who knows what they're talking about, two people who love the cruise, and we love you guys. So the next topic.
Yeah, what you got?
Okay. I don't even like to say this word.
Uh-oh.
Because I don't ever want to hear this word. Divorce. Now, what happens if you get a divorce right before the cruise? Let's say, even if you were dating and you got a new boyfriend or girlfriend, you want to replace that person, but divorce comes up a lot with us. And when they first call us, they're really happy. You know, they're really happy to book. We talk to both of them on the phone at the same time. You know, we get to know them, and then all of a sudden, the conversation changes, and all of a sudden, those papers are filed. You know, and then anything can happen within a year. So sometimes they go ahead and file. You know, and somebody asked us, "What happens when you get a divorce?"
Well, here's a situation that travel insurance won't cover unless you have the cancel for any reason insurance. Yeah, we've had this one. Boyfriend, girlfriends, husband, wives. We've had those, and I hate seeing this. I really do.
It's so sad when we talk to them.
But so
it happens.
It gets a little dicey. It really does. Every situation is different. Let me start by saying that. Typically, obviously, the people usually want to not do the cruise anymore.
They both want to call it quits.
Yeah, and I don't think we've ever had a situation where they called it quits and the other person said, "Hey, I'm still going on the cruise." It's just they cancel the cruise.
Yeah.
The money goes back to the original form of payment if you're getting any kind of a refund. So if she paid some, you paid some, whatever, go back to the original form of payment. So we try to stay neutral. We're Mr. and Mrs. Switzerland when it comes to those things.
With everybody. We have to be.
Yeah, so I mean, really, that's about it. I mean, you're subject to the cancellation policies as a cruise line, depending on what rate and everything you booked. Again, travel insurance won't cover that unless you have like a cancel for any reason policy where you can just call and say, "Hey, I'm not going." A lot of people don't get that one because it's more pricey, but yeah. So depending on how far you're off from the cruise, you know, you go your way, and you're subject to the penalties, and whoever paid what takes the money with them, and
that's that. Next one. So what if you lose your job and you just can't finish out all the payments? Like you paid for half the cruise and you actually get fired. What happens to your money then? You need it. Can't cruise.
That's happened too.
That has happened. These are real life stories we're talking about today.
Well, same kind of principle or policy. I mean, if you I would think that if somebody hasn't fully paid for the cruise and they lose their job there, but still before the final pay date, so there may be a fee or something associated with canceling, but they'll get a vast majority of their money back. And if you lost a job and you've already paid for the cruise in full, I don't know. I think I would just go on the cruise because hopefully it make me feel a little better.
And then you have time off, you might as well go.
You got time off, baby.
But I'm trying to say you.
That's terrible.
It's like Craig getting fired on your day off.
Oh boy, that's funny.
If you
it's not
already
funny.
off work, you might as well go.
I would. I mean, you know what? If I lost my job and I have a cruise like next month, I'm gonna do the cruise and look for a job when I get back.
Me too. I just think about it later. Next one. Okay, so these are the next questions that I asked, and we also had these scenarios happen where it gets really, really dicey and sticky. What if my other guests in the cabin can't go? So I booked the cruise, I got my girlfriend, but then she backs out. Now what?
A lot of different scenarios with this one. This has happened in many different variations to us. The person has backed out and then they've had somebody else take their place. Typically there's a change fee for a vast majority of the cruise lines. So, this is complicated. The new person taking over the booking gives the money that the person canceling the booking has paid minus the penalty. Person taking over the booking would give that person the money that they paid in cash if they could.
It's like they're a refund, basically.
Minus the penalties that were affiliated with the change.
Okay, so they'll pay for the room, what they paid. Wait a minute. So the person who's actually going would take money from the person who's not going minus.
They would take their payments. So whatever payments they made, whatever payment the person canceled made, they would just keep that on there. And then the person that's taking over the booking would give them the money that they had paid, less any penalties.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to refund that person their money back, and then the new person makes the payments, but then you have to get the penalty fee from that person that canceled because it just made your cruise go up $50.
Yeah, you have a $50 penalty.
Or whatever the case may be. So that's happened.
So then that's when they get into name changes.
One thing that you can do sometimes, and I'm leery about saying this one, but I'll say it. If you got somebody that you know that's not going to go, and let's say it's going to cost you $100 or something to cancel their name, and you're not putting anybody else in the cabin with you, right? Let's say it's 2 people in the cabin, the second person's not going, and the first person's like, I'm still going anyway.
Right.
You can just show up to the cruise port without the second person.
That makes sense. Show up alone.
And they'll actually refund the taxes and port fees. You know, assuming that the entire cruise is paid in full. They would just refund that person's tax and port fees to your sail and sign account or whatever, to your onboard expense account. Typically, there are a couple of exclamation or hashtags on that you want to put down here, but when you go to the cruise line, you check in for your cabin, and they say, I'm Mr. Smith, and they say, we're Mrs. Smith.
You don't know, but that's a disclaimer.
They can't deny you boarding the ship because the other person's not there. So.
Right, because that's when that has actually happened to one of our clients where they had to show up alone because the other person did not show up. So that's what happens.
Does not happen often.
It doesn't. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. So you want to make sure you're prepared when that buddy that you're taking or your friend girl, don't show up. You know, you can just go ahead and show up alone, but you probably will incur some fees for that, right?
Or sometimes it's like 3 people in the cabin and 1 can go, whatever.
Yeah, things happen all the time. That's life. Next one. So if a person is having surgery and they don't know if they can make it, doctor's appointments coming up, you know, then what? You know, they may be having surgery, like, I don't know, they probably failed and had something replaced, or...
Well, that's depends on when it happened or what's going on. If it's before the final payday, and you're not sure, it's probably best to cancel and or rebook it or something, and just suck up whatever little fees you got
right
associated with that, because obviously your health and all that stuff is more important.
It is.
Than that couple bucks. And if it's after final payday and you're in the penalties, it kind of is what it is. You can call the cruise lines all you want and say, I'm having surgery and all that. They're going to say, tough cookies, you should have got the insurance.
Yep. You have time limits on everything. Just remember that when you're booking a cruise, there's a time limit on everything before you can incur fees.
So that's another situation where we advocate for insurance. Yeah.
Yes. And the last one is, what if you missed the ship? That means you honestly cannot go. You actually missed the ship due to weather, your car broke down, you didn't catch your flight. Then what? Because that has happened too.
Yepper, that has happened. Matter of fact, y'all may have remembered it because it was a topic that we had on there about the person didn't get their... They fully paid for the cruise, missed the cruise, and we put the topic out there of, do you think you should have still got the cruise points?
Yeah.
Because he totally paid for everything.
Yep, but he wanted his
But he
points.
missed.
Yep, he did
and
not
he still didn't give his points. And I don't know. That's a tough call, but...
Comment below and let us know what do you think. If a person totally missed the cruise, but everything is paid for in advance before the final payday, should they get their points anyway?
Yeah.
Comment below.
I think that they should. I'm always going to advocate for the customer. I think that they should get their points, especially if they spend all the money.
And I don't know if they should, because they did not make the cruise.
They spent the money.
But they did not. They weren't out physically on the ship. That's what I'm saying.
They spent the money.
They physically.
I want my points.
And they got their money back.
They didn't get their money back.
They didn't.
No.
They incurred fees.
No, they lost everything.
Well, they should have had insurance.
That's true. Because when you're going to the cruise, the day of the cruise, you're at 100% penalty. Like a week or two before the cruise, you're 100% penalty. 100%. So if something happens and you don't have insurance,
yeah.
I mean, you have a couple of options. Okay, so you missed the ship because of weather or whatever.
You missed the flight.
You can call the cruise line or your travel agent if you went through one and say, hey, I'm going to try to catch the ship. You can try to catch the ship in the next port. So let's say it's going to Nassau. You can try to catch a flight to Nassau.
So you can catch up with the cruise.
You know, but often, getting a last minute flight to Nassau is going to cost you a bunch of money.
Like some thousands.
Or whatever island you're going to. You know what I mean? So, that's an option. But yeah, if you miss it, I mean, you're just out of money. And so it's another case for the insurance, because the insurance covers things like the flight delays. They help you get to catch up with your ship should you miss for covered reasons. So
these things happen and we don't want to think about them when we're talking about a vacation. Oh my God, we don't want these things to happen to us at all.
What about people? What about people who book a cruise and neglect to mention that they're felons or have warrants, like serious warrants and things like that? Not only are you going to lose your money, you're going to lose your freedom too.
You're going to lose your freedom. You're going to lose your money.
Because that has happened.
That has actually happened to our clients, where they did not mention or they had a warrant.
Yeah, the warrant is the more pressing point on that, because not all felonies restrict you from travel and things like that.
Well, they did not mention they had a warrant. but they did.
And I mean, you'll get warrants for things like child support and on up.
Back taxes, everything. You're going through customs, they run everything. So make sure you squeaky clean before you go on the cruise, or you will not make the ship.
Yeah, I'm like, if you got the warrants and all that stuff, you probably need to spend your money on some other things other than cruise.
Me too. I do. I think so too.
You gotta get a couple things. You gotta get a couple things in order.
Well, that's it for today. We hope we answered all the questions of what happens when you cannot make the cruise. We have actually experienced these scenarios with our clients, but thank God we have not been through any of these ourselves.
Almost.
We've actually made every single cruise that we've been booked on, and we've been on almost 40 cruises, but we have almost missed a cruise.
Like twice, we were almost the last people on the ship. Once in the port and once embarking in Port Canaveral. Remember that?
Yeah. It was scary.
We stayed when we lived in Michigan, we flew to Miami and hung out in Miami for a couple of days.
Sure did.
And we wanted to take the scenic route up the coast of Florida to get to Port Canaveral.
Yeah, we didn't take into consideration the traffic.
And we might have underestimated the time just a little bit.
Yeah, traffic was really bad, so we were pushing it really close, but we made it. They were pulling up anchors and everything, and we made it on the ship, so that was really close.
Man, I'd have been swimming.
Comment below if you ever got really, really close, or you almost missed the cruise leaving at a port, or when you arrived. That's why we say make sure you arrive one day in advance to wherever the port is. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video today. Please make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit that notification button. That way you'll know when we upload. We upload every week, and we go live on the weekends. We'll see you guys on Thursday for Hot Topics Thursday. Life short.
Have fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.